Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 3 of EDU6200. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd. I know some of you are still closed tomorrow for Hurricane Dorian, and thank goodness it didn't hit our state. But please keep your prayers for those folks in the Bahamas. I've been to Grand Bahama Island many, many times and know the area that it impacted. And so very, very devastating down there. Keep them in your thoughts and your prayers if you would. But I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some updates first, and then I'm going to talk about week 3 and what I want to cover, because it does technically start today. I did send you guys an email back on Thursday that I was kind of delaying the week 2 due date and the week 3 due dates. So what's going to happen now is you're going to have an extra week for week 2, which most of you already did anyway. You just got to make sure you do your initial post and your response post. If you haven't done your initial post yet, I think it's only one of you left. Please do that today if you can, if you haven't lost power. If not, get me a message. Let me know what's going on with you, and I'll be able to work with you. And then get your response posted as soon as you can. Definitely by Monday of next week. I also moved week 3 back a week. So week 3 and week 4 technically are both due in the same week. I'm going to try and get us back on schedule, and hopefully we won't have any other storms coming through here. We can pray and all that good stuff that we don't have any other storms coming through. So real quick to give you an idea of where we're at, and if we had to have a break like this from the college, couldn't have picked a better time in our course because obviously we haven't had much due yet. So again, week 2 is discussion forum for week 2 only. Week 3, discussion forum and the WCG number 9, your field experience notes. That's where you're going to write down those 5 barriers and those 3 responses, and you're going to do your reflection piece. And all that stuff is due now on 9/9. No, I'm sorry, 9/16. I pushed it a week back, 9/16. I'm looking at the older syllabus. I apologize. Also due during week 4, which is 9/16, is the week 4 discussion, and that is our first group discussion presentation. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video to kind of give you updates on where that's going and how that works for you. So those are the assignments coming up in the next few weeks. We've got the week 2 discussion forum posted backed up a week, so due 9/9. The week 3 WCG number 9 due on 9/16, and also the week 4 discussion also due on 9/16. So let me give you an idea of what this is going to look like for week number 4. First, I noticed some of you found the open discussion forum versus the actual week discussion forum. Make sure you don't post in the open discussion forum, only post in the one for that week. That's the way you'll see everybody else's posts and be able to respond to them. So my week 4 group, I don't have your names in front of me, but I would ask you all to go ahead and send me what you're going to post a couple days ahead of time. Week number 4 is going to start on 9/10, so next Tuesday. I'd like the week 4 group to make sure you've done your post by Monday night, 9/9, and that way it's there ready for those folks who want to jump on things quickly on Tuesday. Now you can do it quicker if you want to, entirely up to you. But here's what that group is going to do. They, as a group, and I think it's 3 of them, are going to go and read chapter 4 in our text. They are then going to write up a brief summary. It could be bullet points. It could be a couple paragraphs. It could be whatever they decide to do to give you information and background on what chapter 4 is all about. Then they're going to pose 2, 3, 4 questions, whatever they want to do. And those are the questions that the rest of you are going to respond to. So again, Monday 9/9 they post it. Tuesday 9/10 it starts for everybody else, the other 23 of you, because we have 26 in the class, and you all are going to post your initial response to theirs by Friday. So that's not this upcoming Friday, and that's next Friday. So I believe that date is the 13th, if I'm correct. Then everybody else, not the group presenting, is going to respond like we've done for the first 3 ones I've put out there for you. 2 responses, 2 different colleagues, and again 100 words minimum by the Monday, which is 9/16. So that's how it's going to function. And those of you in week 5, week 6, and so on, you're going to see what this group does. Maybe you do it the same, maybe you modify it, maybe you do things a little bit differently. Whatever works for you makes it something that's very, very beneficial. And what I'm looking forward to is seeing your unique perspectives on these chapters. I will bring a lot of that in to what we do. One last thing on that, only one of you in that group is going to post. In the top of that post, put all 3 names or 2 names for the one group, it's only 2. So again, you're going to post that in there with your 3 names, and boom, you guys get your credit. I encourage the 3 of you to respond to others. But if you don't, that's okay as well. It's not that big of a deal. All right, that's week 4 discussion. Now, real quick on WCG number 9, again, there's a couple things you're going to turn in for that, and I want to pull up the rubric so I have it in front of me as I talk to you guys about it, just to make sure you're not missing anything. You're going to have a bulleted list. Your bulleted list is going to have 5 ways that your principal responded to barriers to student success. And they could be both academic and non-academic things. Hey, we're closed for school today. I think almost all of you are in one of the counties closed today, unless you're in Manatee, Sarasota. How did your school respond to that? How did they get ready? I know my wife's school was a shelter. They were in there Friday afternoon getting things ready. I am a district administrator. I'm not the area administrator, but the gentleman who would be overseeing my wife's school is going to be out of town this weekend for his birthday, and the area superintendent for our east part didn't want them to have to cancel their vacation. She called me and said, hey, would you be willing to go out there if necessary? And I said, of course I would. I'll be glad to fill in and do that. So how'd your principal respond to those things? Number 2, 3 ways acknowledging errors and or feedback. Something related to feedback on anything related to instruction, evaluation, things like that. And then you're going to include your full notes. And it says 4 or more full days of notes. I'm just looking for a good amount of notes that you've seen many different experiences. You've had the chance to see your principal do various things related to compliance with the law. So that is WCG number 9. One of you sent me an email this week, and I'm sorry if I did not send it out to you guys sooner. I am one of those professors that if you send me your stuff ahead of time, I'll be more than happy to look at it and give you feedback. I'm not one of those professors where turn it in, that's the grade, have a nice day. I don't believe in that kind of thing at the master's degree level. You all are future leaders. It's all about working with people and finding people and realizing what we can do together as educational leaders to provide good leadership for those who are following us. So if you have something you want to send me, just give me a couple days leeway time. Obviously, don't send me an email on Monday. Hey, can you look at this? Because except for yesterday, I work Mondays too. So I want you to realize that piece, and I'll be glad to help you out with that. All right. So that's the second thing I wanted to cover today. I did in the previous video talk about WCG number 9, number 2, and number 3. And I think most of you got number 2 done already. If not, you can bang that out real quick. It's just that little questionnaire piece you do online, and the link is on page 6 of your syllabus. Now, WCG number 3, I think some of you are confusing the assignments when you're submitting them. And if you are, I'm going to correct you on that. I know one of you already submitted WCG number 3, the compliance inventory, as number 4. I need you to fix that and pull it back. If you don't know how, you can email me. I can delete them on my end. I can't push it back to you. I can only delete them. But there is a way to do it from the other end to pull it back. And I am sorry, this guy is not well versed in that area. But I do know how to delete them. It doesn't penalize you in any way, shape, or form. So make sure you get it in the right piece. That's the compliance inventory. That's the one where you're listing 4 bulleted points for each of those areas on the rubric. We have no other WCG assignments due before the midterm exam, which is during week 8, the week of October the 8th. But we do have 2 assignments due right after the break there for the midterm exam, and I want to make sure you're aware of what they are. The first one is WCG number 5, Professional Development Research. I'm going to talk about that one. And WCG number 4, the Compliance Action Plan Presentation, which relates directly back to WCG number 3, which is due during week number 7, the week of October 1st. So this is that first time you're going to see that, oh, work I did already applies to something else. And as I promised you guys in each video, I would tackle a couple of these WCG assignments in full detail. So today is number 5 and number 4. And again, remember, they are out of order. Let me say it again. They're out of order. Make sure you look at page 11 and page 12 of the syllabus to find those exact dates. So first of all, you can find a description of WCG number 5 on pages 7 and 8 in the syllabus. And it talks about working with your administrator. And what you're looking for is 2 things. You're looking for priorities, professional development priorities of your school. And number 2, you're looking for you're going to research ways that PD is effectively delivered to faculties. Those are the 2 things you're going to be doing. Now, when you look at the syllabus on this one, and let me pull that one up with you guys, Professional Development Research Assignment number 5, this one is really, really straightforward. You're going to collaborate with your administrator to identify 5 or more needs of the school. PD needs. What are the 5 PD needs of your school? It could be things related to ESE, it could be things related to questioning, it could be things related to safety. Whatever it is that you guys have to do. I know in Hillsborough we have this new system they're putting out there. It could be PD on the little clicker thing if you think there's somebody that's harming the school or going to be a danger to the school. That could be a PD that's necessary. You're going to put down that list of 5 you work on with your administrator. That's part 1, and you can use a PowerPoint for this. Part 2, you're going to research 5 different methods for delivering professional development. Now, it could be the video like I'm doing right now. It could be a webinar. It could be a face-to-face PD. You're going to research them, and what I'd like you to do is if you're doing this as a bulleted list, you might have 1 5 bulleted list for the first one, your principal's priorities, and now you'd have 5 different bulleted lists with information about how that PD is done, why it is effective. They don't have to be any tie-in yet. No tie-in yet to those priorities, just looking at how this can be done. So it says specifically in the rubric, uses research to identify 5 or more ways that effective school leaders provide professional learning opportunities to improve professional practice. Period. That's all you got to do, 5 things. And then the last thing, use technology some way to do it. You can do a PowerPoint. You can do a Word document. Whatever works for you guys works for me on this one. It's a very, very flexible assignment, but you'll see WCG number 6 ties right into this one. And there is a form for this particular assignment. There is one of those field experience forms you're going to fill out. It's for 5 and 6. They're very, very closely related. You're going to see that in this piece. Now, going back to WCG number 4, which is part 2 of number 3. I know. You did number 3 already. This is number 4. You're going to now work with your school leader again to talk about one challenging area from assignment 3. Pick one area that you thought was challenging. Now you're going to create your own action plan presentation to look at those same 4 areas you did in number 3. Basically what it comes down to is the first assignment, WCG number 3, that is your principal, assistant principal's list. That's what they do. WCG number 4, this is yours. This is the one that you would do and how you would comply with those areas listed on page number 7 in the syllabus. And then, of course, also on the actual rubric. And when you look, it's very specific on this rubric. It says you're going to look at techniques. Now, it doesn't say a number here. Techniques to comply with state and federal guidelines. The second one, 4 strategies to ensure appropriate physical accommodations, educational accommodations. This is dealing with a number. So make sure you have 4 of those for the second part of this rubric. The third one, how you're going to maintain compliance with federal law. And finally, the fourth one, code of ethics. So really what this comes down to is your presentation will be like a PowerPoint, and you'll have a slide talking about the area of focus, whatever it was that you thought was a huge, huge thing. And then you're going to respond with your ideas for WCG number 4, making sure you comply with the rubric. And then you're going to make sure it has that number. So again, the only one with a number next to it is the one on physical and educational accommodations. So that's it on those 2. I want to stop on that piece and make sure everybody has it clear. These are not due till after the midterm, but you may want to start working on them now. It's entirely up to you. In my next video, I'm going to address WCG number 6 and number 7. That'll be week 4 video because those are the 2 that follow up the current ones we're working on. And then finally, I'll address WCG's number 8 and 10 in the week 5 video to give you that information, get you started ahead of time. Because I'm going to tell you with WCG number 8, if you wait, you're going to be stressing about that one, and I want it to happen. All right, last thing today, as I promised you, is I would spend a little bit of time in this video talking about chapters 1 and 2 in the textbook, and we're going to spend some time about this in the video chat that we're going to do during week 6. Don't forget about the week 6 video chat, and that's a great one for you because it's going to be a great review of important concepts. I will talk about the things that are going to be on the midterm exam, so you're not fooled and saying, oh, he didn't say anything about that. First of all, the most important thing you have to understand is The federal government has no education responsibilities written in the Constitution. Nothing, nada, not there. There's this magical amendment called the 10th Amendment, and you know what it is already if you haven't already done your homework. The 10th Amendment says that anything not written prior to this is a state's right. It basically is delegated to states and it becomes a state right. So we now have 50 states plus District of Columbia, believe it or not, plus Puerto Rico, plus the Virgin Islands, plus Guam. All the different areas have their own basic education programs, and every state is different in how they do it. So the state legislature comes up with a piece on how education is going to be governed. Now, since we live in Florida, it's good to talk about Florida. Florida has a very simple piece. It says, if you're a county, you're a school board. If you're a county, you're a school board. So that's why it's Hillsborough, Pasco, Polk, Pinellas, Hernando, so on and so forth, is that each county is its own. That's why Florida is very unique amongst the 50 states. Most states split up their larger counties. Like Atlanta, Atlanta as a city is in 4 different counties, so it's 4 different school zones. Whereas here, Hillsborough, Tampa, we are one school system, and that's how we're the 8th largest in the nation. We also have small counties with less than 1,000 kids in them. I have elementary schools with more than 1,000 kids in my area that I work with, so it's crazy thinking you have a county with less than that. So the state sets this up, and they have a Department of Education, which in Florida, some of that is elected and some of that is appointed. And it's very, very interesting when you look at how the Florida Board of Education is set up. But then they have local school boards below that. And the rule of thumb in Florida is this. Every local school board must have at least 5 members, can have as many as 7 members. That's it. So 5, 6, or 7 is all they got. The one stipulation is you must have 2 at large. The rest can be by zone. So in Hillsborough, we have 2 at large that are alternating years. So in 2020, we'll elect one of them. In 2022, the other. They run 4-year terms. The other 5 in Hillsborough County are regioned based on population in the county. If you had a county with only 5 board members, some of the smaller counties down in the heartland around Lake Okeechobee, they only have 5 members and they would have 3 districts and then the 2 at large. Very simple piece. And for the most part, they have the control over local education. However, I know you've seen this with Commissioner Corcoran, Governor DeSantis, and even Governor Scott before him. The state continues to impose more and more of its will on the public school systems, telling them what they can and cannot do, putting more and more government regulations into things. And you're going to see more of that as long as the state stays under the same control it's been under. Now, I am a law professor. I am not a politician. So here's the thing I can tell you that's very important to understand about Florida. I'll say this again in our video chat. We have been under one party's control, Governor's Mansion, House, Senate, since 1998 when we got a Republican governor. Before that, we had both a Republican House and Senate and a Democratic governor, the late Lawton Childs. So in knowing that piece, this is really important. 20 plus years of rule under the same party. So things go one way. If somehow in 2020 we get a Democratic governor or we get one in the House or the Senate Democrat controlled, things may shift back the other way. But right now the big shift is towards choice, charter, and putting as much public money into non-public schools as possible. That's the reality of what it is. That is why charter schools have an easier time managing things than school districts. And not that I'm against charter schools. I think choice is a great thing as long as everybody plays by the same rules. And that's not happening in Florida. We also have a lot of money being funneled into private schools. They don't take the same assessments your kids take. They're not graded the way you're graded. Is that fair? So these are things that we have to think about and talk about, but that's what the law is written as right now. So, going over the federal role in education, and you guys did a great job responding to this, the federal government basically has 2 ways that it influences public education. Keyword, public, not private. Number 1, a violation of rights outlined in the U.S. Constitution or the Bill of Rights or any amendment thereafter. And there are some key ones listed here, and we're going to talk about them during our video chat in week 6. Too much to talk about here, but I'm going to tell you the 2 that come up the most for us in education. Number 1, First Amendment, religion, speech, those good things. Number 14, this whole thing about, general welfare and making sure that we protect the public, all those things come into this piece. So that's part 1. And nobody argues with a person's rights being violated that the federal government would step into that piece. The other side, though, is on funding laws. No Child Left Behind. Before that, ESEA, the Elementary Secondary Education Act. There was the ARA funds under President Obama, which was the Recovery and Reinvestment Act. All those things come into play here in how the federal government influences education. On the right side, the one I just told you about, this is, here's some money. You want the money? You're going to do what we tell you to do. That's Title I, Title II, Title IV, all those different title projects that many districts rely on. Those of you in Polk County, which is most of you, you have a lot of Title I schools like we do in Hillsborough. In Hillsborough, our Title I budget is like $80-something million. You don't just say no to that kind of money. And so this is where the federal government has some control over things in that area. The other thing I want you to realize is the courts play a big role. And if you're not a law person, and how many of you are civics teachers, it's so much fun when I teach them. Remember, federal government, 3 branches. Legislation, Congress and the House, House and the Senate and Congress, their job is to write the laws. Executive, the president, his job is to enforce the laws. Judiciary, the Supreme Court, ultimately, their job is to determine if the laws are constitutional and if people's rights have been violated. We'll talk about a lot of those things in this class. We'll talk about Roe v. Wade. We'll talk about Plessy versus Ferguson. We'll talk about, I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know why. But lots of great cases we will talk about that relate to this piece. But here's what I want you to realize, and I had this question the last time I taught this class. What about a jury trial? So understand there are 2 branches of courts. There is the criminal court system and there is the civil court system. The criminal court system is you broke the law, you stole something, you murdered somebody, you did something against the law, and now you are being tried by a jury of your peers. Done. We don't deal with that much in education. We really don't. Civil trials, that's the side we deal with. No jury. Tried by a judge. Could be appealed to an appellate court. Could be appealed to the Supreme Court. Ultimately, it is somebody's contract rights were violated. Somebody's freedom of speech rights were violated. Somebody felt like the school system wronged them, a wrongful death lawsuit. John Morgan, that kind of stuff, civil trials. That's where this kind of fits in. We're suing somebody for violation of our rights in hopes to get our rights back or some kind of monetary piece out of it. The greatest case to understand this by is O.J. Simpson. And some of you aren't old enough to remember this, but I remember watching it. O.J. was found not guilty in his criminal trial of murdering his ex-wife and her husband, right? But then he was found guilty in the civil trial, had to pay all these fines. So that's the understanding of difference between those 2 pieces. This one over here, criminal trial, you go to jail. This one over here, normally don't go to jail, fines, stuff like that. And that's the one we deal with in education. Those are the courts that we work with all the way up to the federal Supreme Court. All right, that's chapter 1. A lot of information, and you will find several questions about amendments there. Chapter 2 talks really about 3 key things. It talks about negligence, duty, and intentional torts. Brief summary of this. Negligence is all about, have you done what you're supposed to do? Or did you act in a way that was negligent? You neglected your duties. You left the kids alone in the classroom and all hell broke loose. Things like that, not proper supervision, unreasonable harm. If you read the Florida Code of Ethics, which we'll talk about later in the semester, it's that first section in Section 3 in the Code of Ethics, all about your obligation to the student. It's about making sure we protect kids from harm. Duty. Did you do the things you're supposed to do as a teacher? Did you maintain appropriate records? Did you warn kids of known dangers? Did you provide adequate supervision, proper instruction? Were you an incompetent teacher or not? That's duty. And finally, intentional torts. This is all the stuff that you're probably familiar with: assault and battery, false imprisonment, mental or emotional distress, defamation, and this could be, by the way, against a student or against another faculty member. And so it's really important to understand those three things and kind of how they fit in. And as you guys are doing the week 2 discussion forum, I haven't read them yet, but I'm sure you'll be seeing this stuff in your comments and talking about any experiences you may have had and things you've worked on in Chapter 2. So that is it for me. Wow, this video is like 25 minutes long. I am so sorry. But it's been a while, and I went away for the weekend and went to Disney, and it was empty. Go figure. Hurricane coming, empty Disney. But as a reminder, get your stuff in for week 2 by the 9th. Week 3 and week 4 both due by the 16th. I'll be back with email information later in the week. And you guys have a great, great week. If you're off tomorrow, stay safe. Get back to school with your kids on Thursday. And we'll talk later on in the week, guys.